Oh man, shock inflation comes in to the downside as Bitcoin falls here down to 27.1. Will we lose 27,000 and how much lower can we get? I'm going to break down the exact inflation figures and what this means for the Bitcoin price action. If you want to trade any of these moves, check out the links to the exchanges I use in the description. Those are affiliate links which support the channel. Now, look at Bitcoin here on the hourly chart facing rejection from its hourly EMA ribbon. You guys know I tweeted earlier today saying we were in this upward channel, and a couple of days ago I said there's two options. We can break through the resistance at 28.1 and work our way to the resistance here at the top of the channel, or we're going to curl over. Exactly what we said played out. We've curled over to the bottom side of the channel, and now we're losing support critically on this 4-hourly chart. If we do lose support, we have to look for lower price points. Now, you guys know ever since the stuff was going on geopolitically over the weekend, I said, guys, watch out. This is not looking good. We need to prepare for some lower price points. And it looks like that's what the market is providing. The only safe signal we had was if the macro data could support us. But we've just had the figures come through and they're not good whatsoever. I just tweeted out the data exactly when it came out, which is about 10 minutes or so ago. You can see that the actual month-over-month figures came in at 0.5. versus 0.3 expected. That doesn't seem like a lot, right? But when you annualize that, you're basically saying you're running at 6% inflation versus 3.6. That's a big difference when annualized. If you look at the year-over-year figures, estimated was 1.6. They expected it to fall from 2 to 1.6. It went up to 2.2. So the forecasting was all wrong then. The markets were not expecting that, caught off of guard. Now, let's say in September you wanted to strip out the oil prices and the food prices because that was too volatile. You then want to look at core inflation. Core inflation previously came in at 0.2 for the August reading. That was estimated to stay there. Okay, just stay there at 0.2. Guess what, guys? It came in at 0.3%. Again, going from 2.4% annualized run rate to a 3.6% run rate on the core inflation. Not looking good whatsoever. And finally, to finish it all off, the final miss, we were expecting that the core year-over-year figure would come in at 2.3 versus the 2.2%. So market already said, okay, you can go up 0.1%. It came in at 2.7. It said, hold that 2.7. Now the worries come in that this really could rear the head of inflation. And this puts the ball back into the court of Jerome Powell, who's going to have some decisions to make. He's going to have some decisions to make. The next meeting's on November the 1st. Is he going to decide to increase interest rates? Is he going to do 25 basis points? And moreover, could he be forced into a situation where he has to do what is not priced in, which is 25 basis points in the next meeting and another 25 basis points before Christmas and the New Year? So this could be really painful here for risk on assets heading into the end of this year. So let's now jump over to the Bitcoin price action. We can see here we're getting rejected from the hourly EMA ribbon. If you look at the 4-hourly chart, you can see we did have a nice 4 hours leading up to this candlestick, but again, very extended from our EMA ribbon. So the question is going to be, are we able to hold support at this blue colored 200 exponential moving average, or are we going to get rejected? If you check out the daily EMA ribbon, you start to understand exactly what is going on, which is that we are trying here, well, the bears are trying here to make us lose our EMA ribbon. You can see we wicked lower than the EMA ribbon, but now we're trying to close the day back inside the EMA ribbon. But with this data that has just come out, is that going to give the bears the impetus to move us here to the downside? Hold up, guys. If you're looking to actively trade and you're not in our free Telegram group, Ijaz.uk/TG, make sure you're in there. I share free trade alerts plus TA setups of exactly how I trade altcoins and profit successfully. Also, there is a VIP group where you get regular VIP trade alerts with the exact trades I'm taking. So definitely check that out. Ijaz.uk/TG. I'll see you on the inside. You can check in on the dollar index, and the dollar index is trying to turn today green and do exactly what we said it would do, right? We called this. We said that the dollar index was so extended from its daily EMA ribbon, it would want to move to the downside. But as it was moving to the downside, you can see it's trying to collect support to bounce. It wants to bounce and move higher to the onside. Remember, when there's more uncertainty in the markets, whether because of geopolitical issues, whether because of macroeconomic data like the data we've just got, it can skew the dollar index to increase to the upside because more risk rotates off. And that is what we're seeing here in this market. So Let's now jump back into the Bitcoin chart. Let's take a look. We know what we need to do here, right? Bitcoin needs to bounce. If we lose this daily EMA ribbon, things then get a bit more painful, right? We know that you have to look to the pivot points to the left, and you can see some support coming in at 26,000, and then the next real level of support starts coming in around 25.6 levels. So we could get some lower price points here on Bitcoin. If we zoom up to the weekly chart, you'll start to see what's happening as well, which is we're fighting to hold our weekly EMA ribbon. If we close this week below 26.8, which is a very big possibility, we'll go back to losing our EMA ribbon, which is not great whatsoever, considering just a couple of weeks ago we worked so hard to break above it. So that's all to play for here on the Bitcoin weekly chart. Now, what does this mean for altcoins? Well, interestingly, we were seeing originally that Bitcoin dominance was climbing earlier in the day. That was being led by Ethereum having a positive day. I mean, if you look at Ethereum is up 1% versus Bitcoin today, despite what's going on. But overall, dominance continues here to show a strong path, right? If you look on the weekly chart here, the last couple of months here, seen a nice move to the upside here on Bitcoin dominance. And that's what happens when risk rotates off. People want to fluctuate into the safer assets. And right now, that is Bitcoin relative to the altcoins. And of course, it's more the kind of S&P stocks relative to the NASDAQ stocks. So if we look at the pre-market, and let's give this a refresh, because obviously this is still breaking data that's coming out. We can see the pre-market here is trying to make sense of what's going on, kind of flat, 0.25% up here on the NASDAQ. Be interesting to see how they consume that inflation data. Of course, remember, that's not the only inflation data we get this week. We get another reading, which is the CPI reading, which is very, very important. Remember, PPI is a precursor for CPI. PPI are your producer price inflation, okay? So your suppliers, think of the people that are the warehouses that are selling the goods, right? The people doing the warehousing. So if their prices are going up, then that normally gets passed on to consumers, which means you can expect to see a higher CPI. So we're gonna have to see whether that plays through. The other thing to keep a note on here is we also get some other really, really important pieces of data coming out today. So if I jump on over to the calendar, you can see straight away we've got the IMF day continuing today, right? We know that. We then have Fed officials speaking. So we can see that the Fed officials speaking today are Fed Walla, as well as the FOMC minutes. This is what I want you to pay attention to. The FOMC minutes, which come out later today, these are the minutes from the previous meeting. Please do not confuse this as a new FOMC meeting. It's not. It's the minutes from the previous meeting, and we want to see if the FOMC were aligned on kind of slowing down and pausing, or if there's still enough members in the FOMC team that are deciding that they still want to rate hike. And do we get any clues about if we're going to get a rate hike in November? So straight away here, we can see that the markets, as soon as this news is coming out, we can see how are they pricing in this data. And you can see they're still sitting here for now at only 15% pricing in that we're going to get a rate hike, which is interesting. I'd expect this to kind of climb up. Maybe they're waiting for CPI tomorrow before they make their decision on whether we're going to get 25 basis points in November. Now, if that CPI data comes in hot tomorrow as well, if we get a hawkish FOMC minute set later on today as well, expect more pain in the market. You guys know I'm firmly in the market, but you also know that I'm waiting for nicer price points, right? I'm wary of what we're seeing here in the charts, which is that we are forming, as I've been sharing with you for over a week now, a head and shoulders potentially forming, right? You can see here, this is your left shoulder, this will be your head, and this is forming your right shoulder, and we're showing weakness here. So unless we can bounce and show some strength and avoid the head and shoulders pattern, this is showing weakness, right? And a head and shoulders pattern is a bearish reversal pattern with neckline at 24.8, which is that purple colored line there. And if you break that out, that's going to be a painful breakout towards lower price points. So I'm monitoring that very, very carefully to see if we're going to have some lower price points. To the upside, like I said, when we bounce from this bottom here, what did I say? I said we have to break these peaks. There's no point having a little move here and then softening out. And you can see here, this is a soft move. Apart from this one weekly candlestick here, the rest was really soft. We didn't show enough strength here to really go above 32 and beyond. Of course, we cannot help what's going on politically, but also the macroeconomic data is not coming in our favor to give us appetite to rotate risk back on. So there you have it, guys. There is an update on exactly what just happened with the PPI inflation data. If you appreciate these real-time updates, smash up the likes, make sure you share this video with anybody that's interested, and I'll see you in the next one.